So this week, we're going to talk about superpowers, especially when it comes to naming and what to look for in an agency, if you're fixing to hire an agency, or in a team that you're building internally, or just if you've got a group of friends around the table and you're ideating around a name for your new business or your new product. There are certain skills, there are certain things that if you can find folks that bring that to the table, it really makes the whole process a lot easier and the outcome a lot better. So, with that, Ashley, what is one of your superpowers?
One of my superpowers, I would say, just coming from, my whole family are teachers. I've always asked why, and I always assume that everyone else wants to know why. So I think really trying to simplify things, helping explain the why or explain it in a way, whether it be a name, whether it be our process, the project, just really trying to simplify things down. We've worked on doing infographics and just making information readily available online as well as in our projects. And I think that's been one of the things that I realize is kind of that way with my kids. With business, it's just kind of who I am, is trying to simplify things.
And see, I think that's great because I've been doing this for almost 40 years. And so I don't realize what folks don't understand. I take way too much for granted. And so we'll get into client presentations where I'm glossing over things that you, with the teacher background and not having done it for nearly as long, say, no, that's probably not obvious, Mike. And so you'll interrupt me and then you'll provide some additional explanation, which really helps everybody through the process. So I agree with you. I think that's an important superpower to have.
I think that's a good point too, is I feel like I'm a doer in some ways, but I'm an observer in others. And so I'm watching everybody on the call, where if you're presenting, it's nice to have that balance of someone else watching the reactions of people, because sometimes it's not spoken, but I can tell that maybe we need to explain that a little bit more. So that was a good point. What do you think one of your superpowers is?
I think this is probably because I've done it for as long as I have, but you can sort of intuit or sense what isn't being said. And because I've gone through a lot of engagements, probably for the same type of product or the same type of client or the same industry, I have some idea as to here's probably what's going to work. Here's what's been done over and over and over and over again, and it's not going to work. It's just old school. So that ability to sort of get a sense for, okay, what is it you want? What's your value prop? What's going to set you apart? What's your sustainable differentiator? And understand, well, how does that play into the competitive field? And then diving into strategy, right? Like before we get into actually naming things, strategically, how is the name going to work? I think a lot of that's from experience, but I also think it's one of the things that I can bring to the table that someone that hasn't been doing this for decades has more difficulty bringing to the table. And a lot of clients, I think, appreciate that.
Well, as a person who's new to this specific industry, I think that's, you bring stories, and you've seen, I would say, almost eras of naming in the naming industry, and things that have worked or what hasn't worked, or the trends throughout the years. I think also one thing for me, I'm a visual person. I like to see things in context, and that's something we've been trying to work on is, can I picture it on packaging? Can I picture it on a building? And that also takes our clients that visualization. But I think you have the visualization all up here. We just got to get it all down
That's right.
on paper.
Got to get it out of the head, for sure. Okay, so what's another one of your superpowers?
I'm very organized. So
That
I
is
will
for
say
sure.
I make my own deadlines, and then I stress myself out sometimes about those deadlines. But I do think that follow-ups and maintaining that cadence with clients and checking in with clients is something that I'm a relationship person by nature, and I think that helps a little bit with when it comes to client relations.
There's no question about that. I think it's extremely important and something that you're really, really good at.
I think you have like we could be here for an hour on your skills. What's another one of yours?
Well, there are a lot of things that have changed since we started doing this, and I think having that perspective for clients as to what's really hard today that maybe they undervalue or they don't appreciate. So when we started this company in 1985, we didn't even bother doing trademark screenings. There was no internet other than in academia. There were no smartphones. So the world was just a much smaller world, and it was so easy, so easy to get real word names through the process. And the legal wasn't that big a deal. Well, today it's just the opposite. It's so hard to clear a name legally. A lot of our clients want to move beyond just a domestic market to a global market. So you've got to think about linguistic challenges. How is it accepted culturally? There's just so many things that complicate naming today. And a lot of folks don't appreciate how hard the legal clearance is. They think, well, you go to the USPTO website, you do a quick search, and if you don't find a match, that's it. That's like 5% of what you need to do from a legal standpoint. As you know, like what are some of the other things that we do when we do a screening that we're looking for that maybe clients don't understand or aren't aware of?
Oh, I feel like I only know the tip of the iceberg. There's so many things that I still have yet to learn specifically with trademark screening. But just the likelihood of confusion and the layers of that. And we have a great team, so I think that's very helpful. We also color code it like a risk assessment, like a stoplight. I think that helps also bring it to life for the clients.
Yep.
But for me, navigating that difference between what's a green and what's a yellow and why is it green and why is it yellow, like what indicates the next layer of risk in terms of if it's in the same space, are you registered in what categories? We have a lot of different countries that have different ways that they register things that adds a whole nother layer to it. Like it's phonetically based. I mean, there are so many things that I'm learning as we're going that I'm sure I haven't even scratched the surface.
Like a lot of folks don't understand that a domain name is based upon spelling. So you can change a single letter in a domain name and all of a sudden you've got a registrable domain you can go out and get for $40 on GoDaddy or whatever. It's like a license plate. That's not how trademark law works. It's based upon phonetics. It's based upon sound. So regardless of how you spell the thing, if it sounds similar to another name, you have a potential problem. However, clients also don't understand that it's by class. So you can see exactly the same name used over and over and over again in the same country as long as it's for different stuff. Because you register a mark, a name, in a particular trademark class. So if you've got software, you might register that in class 9. If it's a desktop piece of software, you might register it in class 42 or one of the service classes if it's a SaaS software. But if you've got an automobile, totally different class, doesn't make any difference if there's a piece of software with exactly the same name. So you might have Odyssey the minivan registered in class 12 and Odyssey the software registered in class 9, no problem, because they're so different from one another. But understanding all that, all the intricacies of how you determine the likelihood of confusion, that's really, really hard. And that's where you get into, is it green? Is it light green? Is it yellow? Is it out? That's just a really hard call to make.
So tune in over the next 40 years as I learn how to do this like my cats.
For sure. Okay, you guys have a great week.
Thanks.
See you now.
Bye.
Bye.